Hello, gorgeous souls. In today's video, we'll be talking a little bit more in depth about the irregularities and disharmonious proportions found within the Gregorian calendar, which is accepted and used by today's society, besides a few tribes, communities, or religious groups who still follow their own calendar. So I've talked about this in previous videos, but the Gregorian calendar was established by Pope Gregory VIII of the Vatican, and that's where the name Gregorian comes from. He introduced it to the public on October 1582. This calendar, as you're well aware, is a very irregular calendar with 31 days within a month, and February changing its structure every 4 years from 28 to 29 days. This is not at all a harmonic calendar, and because time represents the dimension of our mind, a disharmonious calendar can have a devastating effect upon our mind and our inner world. I talk more about this in the video called Why is Calendar Change So Important? And also to discover the benefits that come from attuning to a harmonious calendar such as the 13 moon calendar of the dream spell, which is based on the ancient Mayan calendar. You can go ahead and watch the video called The Benefits of the Dream Spell Calendar. The Gregorian calendar actually originated in Babylon. The Babylonians disregarded the lunar cycles and the part they play within the solar ring, which is the time that it takes for the Earth to go around the sun. By doing so, they destroyed our cosmic perception and they moved our whole being away from the connection with the feminine energy, which is represented by the moon, into a perception focused only on the masculine energy represented by the sun or the solar energy. For a better understanding of the connection between the lunar phases and the feminine energy, you can go ahead and watch the video called 13, the moon and the sacred feminine energy. Back in the day, most ancient cultures understood the importance of integrating both the masculine and the feminine energies in their timekeeping system, the lunar and solar cycles, and that is why many of the ancient cultures had a lunar calendar or a solar lunar calendar. More information about this in the video called 30 Moon Calendars Throughout History. The Babylonian destruction of time knowledge and the institutionalization of the patriarchal society was completed by the Vatican calendar reform led by Pope Gregory VIII. Within the Gregorian calendar, with its 12 uneven months, we cannot fully understand or connect with the cyclical order of time, and this results in the chaotic order of society as we see it today. A calendar is the most fundamental organizing system of human society, and if a calendar makes no sense, if it's disconnected from the cycles of nature, if it's disharmonious and irregular, then society makes no sense. It's disconnected from nature, it's disharmonious and irregular and erratic. The Gregorian calendar, along with the mechanized clock, together create the artificial timeline of the 1260 frequency, which corrupts and programs our mind to live out of sync with the natural cycles. I speak more about this 1260 frequency and the impact that it has on our being in the video called the artificial timeline of the 1260 frequency versus the harmonic 1320 galactic frequency. And besides the months being irregular and chaotic, the name of each month is also quite illogical and irregular. So, okay, we have January, which is named after the Roman god Janus, which is the protector of gateways and doorways. February comes from the Latin word februa, which means to cleanse. Mars is named after the god of war, because in Mars usually Rome started their war campaigns. April comes from the Latin verb aprire, which means to open. May and June are named after the goddesses Maya and Juno. Then we have July, which is named in honor of the dictator Julius Caesar. August is named to honor the grandnephew of Julius Caesar, Augustus Caesar. And from September, the irregularity of it all becomes even more obvious, because September, the 9th month, sept in Latin means 7. Then we have October, the 10th month, which is derived from the Latin word, which means 8. November, the 11th month, actually means 9, and December means 10, but it's the 12th month. All of this is in absolutely no way tuned with the rhythms and cycles of our planet and the cosmos itself. The word calendars itself is actually derived from the Latin word calens, which means account book. This is because on the first day of every month in the Julian calendar, which is the predecessor of the Gregorian calendar, you had to pay your debts and taxes to the Roman Empire. And this is what led to the whole perception that time is money, which is so embedded in our consciousness and our culture. So this was the main purpose of the calendar, or actually of the predecessor of the calendar that we are currently using today, to keep track of the bills and the taxes we had to pay. So we can find ourselves asking, is this what a calendar is all about? To know when we have to pay our taxes and bills and when we have to get our salary? What about nature? What about the cycles of the sun, the moon, and the seasons? Even the beginning of the year doesn't correspond to anything, no cycle in nature or in the heavens. And I speak more about this in the video called Why Does the New Year Begin on the 1st of January? When you start the new year in the middle of winter at midnight with no link to any natural events whatsoever, of course you no longer think about the seasons and the cycles of the moon when you use the calendar. I was actually surprised to recently discover that there are many people who do not know what the equinox is, or the solstice, or they do not know how many days are within a lunar cycle. It's almost as if the purpose of the Gregorian calendar is to actually keep us out of sync with nature. And since calendars are a programming device, when we change our calendar, we change the programs that run within our being. And let's contemplate a little bit about the very people who created this calendar in the first place, what their interests were. Because the predecessor of the Gregorian calendar, the Julian calendar, was named after Julius Caesar, who became the first emperor of the Roman Empire and wanted to clearly mark the transition from a republic to an empire, so he decided to change the calendar. This was a pretty chaotic process in itself, since back in the day, the Roman calendar had only 10 months. And keep in mind what the Roman Empire did in regards to the destruction of cultures and all the wars and the conquering campaigns that it led. Julius Caesar was followed by Augustus Caesar, who stepped in and made further changes within the calendar, adding his name to one of the months, the one that is right after the month of Julius Caesar, July. He added August, and because July had 31 days and because he was, the same rank as Julius Caesar, he added 31 days to August as well. This is how the calendar began, with imperialistic pretensions and despotic motives. The Christians began using the Julian calendar around 321 AD when they added the 7-day week to it, which was borrowed from the Hebrew lunar calendar. But these 7 days of the week do not correlate to any of the months, all of it being very random and chaotic because the months themselves have an uneven number of days to them. Actually, when the Christians discovered the Mayans and their very advanced calendar system, they found out that their own calendar was 10 days off. So what did they do? They burned all of the books and wisdoms that the Mayans had in 1562, 20 years before the Vatican adopted the Gregorian calendar and made up for the 10 days off. So if you went to bed on the 5th of October 1582, you would wake up on the 16th of October. So this calendar that is the legacy of the Roman Empire was later adopted by the Christian Church and the Vatican. So besides the bloody history of the Roman Empire, the Christian Church perpetuated this blood shedding and conquering of other nations program. All of this bloodshedding, when we really look at history and we understand it, we can tell that it was led by a very distorted and crooked mind, influenced by a crooked and disharmonious perception of time and being, which in its illusion of grandeur and its identification with the ego wants to impose its will onto the lives of others. By the end of the 20th century, through the European imperialism, the Gregorian calendar became world standard. And to understand the effects that such a calendar has on our human consciousness, we just need to look at the current global crisis. We are disconnected both individually and collectively from our true nature, from nature itself. Our perception of time is artificial and linear. We feel separation from other people, separation from nature. We never feel like we have enough time, no, because time is money. And time is manifested into some material notion that we can measure through the ticking of the clock. But time is so much more than that, and I invite you to go ahead and watch the video called What is Time for an understanding of the deeper meaning of time. A calendar should be a tool of measurement which somehow puts our planet in harmonic relationship with the sun, the moon, and maybe even other stars in the galaxy. A calendar should bring us closer to nature, not further away from it. And when we accept this current definition of time without questioning it, when we accept this standardized and uneven measure of time, this predisposes our mind to accept the disharmony of everyday life. Is this really the calendar we want to follow? Do we want to allow disharmony and illogic to govern our perception of time? Or do we want to expand our consciousness to connect with the terrestrial and universal cycles through a calendar that brings more harmony to our inner and outer life? Well, the good news is that the Dream Spell calendar is exactly such a calendar. Harmonious, cyclical, full of logic and wisdom that we can connect with. And as Jose Argeles said, Jose Argeles being the person that brought all of this information about the calendar to the public, and he created the Dream Spell calendar, the quote goes on the lines of, "Whoever owns your time owns your mind. Change your perception of time and you can change your mind. Change your mind and you can change the world." So that's it for today. If you have any questions about the Dream Spell calendar and how you can integrate it into your life and bring forth more harmony, or if you're interested in decoding your galactic signature and understand the gifts that you are carrying, feel free to write me a message either on my Facebook page or on my email. So until the next time, wishing you a most present day. In Lak'Ech.